I am Zalah. That's Zalah. You can contact me at thecft.ca, thecft.ca. Today, let's talk about the true story of Christmas that actually very few people know, that originated from the original Christ in Mass event. Now, this is our annual season to celebrate our last contemporary Christ in Mass as a model of what can be achieved to live life as peaceful and in integrity as possible. Santa Claus, Christmas time is a time of love and friendliness and of community. And as such, I'd like us all to make a commitment this season in the spirit of Christmas to set out the intention of getting out of the house and saying hello to neighbors, and even go so far as maybe to visit a few people beyond your neighborhood, maybe in an old folks' home. Greet them with warmth and season's greetings. That's just a suggestion. Now let's start. Here are some different perceptions on Christmas for your contemplation. Some may initially seem like coincidence on the surface, but I can assure you they're not, especially because there's so many. So the story of Christmas, myth or truth? One perception produces short-term benefit. The other produces lasting magic. So which is more important? Lies that invoke happiness, or a truth or two that causes disappointment, maybe even trauma? Food for thought. I do a separate presentation on the Santa Bridge. How do we cross this as parents? How do we cross this bridge with children who ask the obvious question? Is Santa real? Tough call at that point. I do a separate presentation on crossing that bridge, and you can find it at the cft.ca. I assure you, it is magic. It really is. The truth, it often gets buried in life, and especially in society, but it doesn't die. Right. So this living Christmas story is a living proof of that. And again, this story is going to have a lot of coincidence. Let's talk about coincidence. What's a coincidence? I'll tell you, it's not serendipity. Let's just take a big sheet of plywood, and I cut a great big V out of it with a power saw. I put it over there for 5 minutes. Then I go over and get it, and I put it back in where I just cut it out. And I'd say, look at that, it fits perfectly. And you're going to say, is there something wrong with you? Of course it fits perfectly. You just cut it out of there. And I would say, you know why it fits? Is because my point is that the angles coincide. Coincident, the word coincidence comes from coincide. And most people have lost that. They think coincidence has to do with happenstance, with serendipity. Well, that's not exactly correct. When something coincides, it fits perfectly. That's right, because the angles coincide. And if things fit perfectly, chances are excellent they're the truth. So I hope you see a lot of coincides in this story. Way too many to discount. Because I don't believe that there are coincidences in life. I think there's only timely exposure. You're led to the things that you need to know about the time that you need to know them, especially if you were wondering or asking. All of that is courtesy of your oversoul, the divine. So where did the myth of St. Nicholas come from? Right. Perhaps the myth had something to do with St. Nicholas. Could he have been a master that was seen in more than one place, at more than one time or just a little overlapping? Well, might I suggest that you do your own research on St. Nicholas? He was very real. And this is where the first Christmas started. And it was after Christ had left, quite a bit after. St. Nicholas is the one who actually started Christmas by a celebration of Christ and of giving. He was notorious for giving. Now, how could St. Nicholas have known what children would really want and then deliver? How? That's interesting. Could it be that a master can expand time via presence? Can you imagine 1 second could expand into perhaps an hour through the magical presence? Could you imagine that 1 minute could expand perhaps into 60 hours? Could you imagine 1 day perhaps turning into a year, all with the conscious use, intentionally expanding the magical presence? Right. Could you imagine all of what could be done around the world on Christmas Eve? Just to think, this process, like every other process in life, starts off with a thought. That's right, a thought. It's how everything begins, is with a thought. So people need to be reminded of this, about consciousness and about presence. And what's important really in life, especially to reflect on at this specific time of year. But for many, Christmas nowadays is about money. It's about being busy. It's about the busyness of life, the business of life. Do you realize the true meaning of wealth is not how many assets one owns, along with cash in the bank, but it's in how few one's needs really are? That's right, how few one's needs. Now, consciousness is the actual true wealth of life because it produces presence, right? And presence produces more wealth, true wealth, how few your needs are. Two halves of the tire. Now, we're not talking the presents that are gift wrapped. No, this is something, this type of presence you can take with you. This type of presence is true wealth. It surpasses death. Right. The physical kind of wealth is temporary. And as a human race, we need to be conscious, very conscious of the value of our life in this incarnation. And especially very, very present at this time of year. If you're present to spirit. You understand the wealth of spirit. Everything comes from spirit and it's going to return to spirit. Look around your room, your house, look at the people in your life. Everything comes from spirit and it's going to return to spirit. It's a matter of you realizing how precious your life is. It's a matter of it's a matter of you realizing how precious that you have these people in your life right now. They're on your stage. How many of these people will be here next year this time? Will there be 1, 2, or more gone? What did you wish to say to them? What? Like, I love you, I forgive you, let's go to lunch, let's do something special. Exactly. Those are the traits of love and presence. You see, presence is a bed partner with peace. And presence and peace are a bedfellow with love. And I say God is love. I say you can interchange the word God with love. So if we take a deeper look at this high holiday, if we go all the way back to the original intent of Christmas, what was it really about? Well, it was about sacred presence. It was about the perception that it was sacred presence, understanding, intention. Christmas Eve, it's all about presence, and again, not the kind that's gift wrapped. No, it's about being present in the now. There's something magic about that, and it's in each of our DNAs. We know it's not right to be doing business and being really busy or being in dramas. No, it's about being sacred Christmas Eve. Otherwise, you miss Christmas Eve and possibly Christmas Day. So this is our annual season to celebrate our high holiday for our last celebrated contemporary Christ in Mass, Jesus. Jesus's original name was Yeshua ben Joseph. Yeah, Yeshua, son of Joseph. You can research that. Christ, Jesus was a human who became a Christ by opening up all of the 7 seals in the body, proving that we all can do it within one lifetime. The Bible, refers to the mighty 7th seal. When you have the 7th seal open, you have triggered a fertile imagination. And that's what masters are all about, is culturing a fertile imagination so that it's imagination to fruition time being instant. It's like handing out in the bag unlimited fish, unlimited pieces of bread. It's like turning water into wine. That's a fertile imagination that's triggered on demand. And as Jesus said, what I can do, you can do also and more. Right? So from all the way back there to now. So let's come back to the current time frame. There's a lot of lonely people this time of year. A lot of very tense people. They're not just on the street. They're in castles too. The season has everything to do with presence and understanding true wealth. It's said, in life that you're confused. If you're confused as to what your intentions are, your body goes into a state of intention. And it stays that way in the neck and the back and the shoulders until you become clear as to what's causing this, and you decide as to what you're going to do in these taxing circumstances. What are you really going to do to get through this? You know why this is so? Because the body is a transcript of the mind. And this is why so many people get tense at Christmas time, this time of year. A lot of people are increasingly unclear as to what Christmas is really all about. And they're increasingly starting to question society's culture and our habits around our high holiday. So what's this Christmas season all about? Besides spending and are going into debt for gifts. So many people pull out credit cards this time of year and say, here's money I haven't even earned yet. That's really what they're saying without saying it. A lot of people have increasingly felt the hollowness of Christmas in the past few years, They know the spirit of Christmas is gone for many. And others, it's not like it was when you were a child. Well, why is this so? Well, expectations are high at this time of year. And disappointments are assured as people are getting to spend a lot of money that they don't have. Many pay for Christmas gifts were purchased on credit cards or purchased with credit cards, then pay for those gifts the entire next year, all to find favor with someone. Few people actually know the true meaning of Christmas, and yet they know there's something more. The magic that was there in their innocence for all of us, for most of us, I should say, is waned, and for some, completely gone. It's gone because there's only recycled ignorance. People are keep doing the same thing, and they don't know why. Right. So this reminds me of my mother. And I noticed that every Easter, she cut off both ends of the ham and she put it in the pot and into the oven. So if I said to her, "Hey, Mama, why do you cut off both ends of the ham?" And she said, "Because Grandma used to do it. And that's how she showed me to do it." I said, "Why don't we call Grandma?" So we called Grandma. And we asked her, and she said, "Oh, that's because your grandfather, he always bought a ham that was too big for the pot that he bought. So I always had to cut the ends off." So Mom and I laughed, and we realized that she didn't have to cut off the ends of the ham. We had a pot big enough. But the point is that these deep habitual patterns of custom are relevant at Christmas time. And do you know what the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Could it be that at this time of festive time of year, our intention needs to be reset and recalibrated to include presents? And I'm not talking about the kind that are gift wrapped. Presence, peace, love, joy, forgiveness, charity. And this will produce magic. Let's talk about the magic. Let's talk about the magic that occurs through presence, through joy. I'd like you to contemplate that. Christmas could naturally happen with joy if we just drop all our worries just for a while to prove that it could be done. Could it be that you could get intentional about being in joy at Christmas time of year? Maybe it's about Christ time as a potential, which is also about presence time. Christmas Eve, once again, presence time, and not the kind that's gift wrapped. Again, if you're not present on Christmas Eve, you've actually missed something very, very special. It's a sacred evening that preps you for the sacred day. In joy is where the word enjoy, E-N-J-O-Y, comes from originally. Let's just say you're standing in line waiting for the cash to purchase your products this Christmas. And the line is extensive, but you're using that time constructively. And when you finally get out to the cash register, someone says, "I'm sorry I kept you waiting." And you could say, "That's okay. I am in joy in myself. I am enjoying myself while I was standing there." Right? So joy is a high form of happiness. Do you realize that happiness needs a reason, but joy does not? You should just be in joy because you're living. You're on this half of the sky. Now remember, part of all of this is understanding that you're called a human being for a reason. You're not called a human pasting. You're not called a human futuring. You're called a human being. Beingness is key. What if I told you love? The best definition of love that I could give you is love is the beingness of all things. Right. So why don't you just think about practice being more this season? 'Tis the season, you know. right? But you must decide to just be. Very, very famous quote. To be or not to be? That is the question. Can you practice being and just being present and looking at everything around you as if you're no longer on this half of the sky, but you're looking at it now because you're gone? What could you be in gratitude for around your home? The people that you have around you are on rent for a little while. Everything we have here in physical form is on rent, even if you own it. Even if you own the house, the car, the boat, the cottage, you only have it on rent, even though you have title to it. We all have each other on rent, you know. We're all walking each other home. You are alive. To understand a new level of Christmas through presence is about love. Christmas is love. Spirit is love. God is love. And so I say again, we're all walking each other home. Everything that we have in our life is sacred, even the tough stuff. Why? Because it's filled with spirit. If it's in physical matter, there's a difference between the center of the atom and where the electron is, the orbit, you know. What's in between the sun and the planet that we live on? That space. What if I told you space is love? Space is spirit, right? Space is love. Love is space. And the spirit is the essence, and the essence is that invisible part. The essence is in everything. Do you realize that outside of Nazareth, way back when, there was a group of masters who specialized in the essence of matter and of life? They were called the Essenes. Essence, Essenes. And this group of masters, eventually they merged with the village of Nazareth, and then they were called the Nazarenes. Yeah. This was the origin of the church of the Nazarenes. Yeah. Jesus was from Nazareth. And so what's interesting about Jesus is that, again, his original name was Yeshua ben Joseph. And from Yeshua, he became known as Jesus the Christ. Now, what's interesting about that is that Yeshua was taught by a French culture, the Jesuits. And if we take a look at the name Jesus, it's coincidentally close to the conjugated verb of je suis, I am. Je suis, close to Jesus Christ, I am Christ. Maybe perhaps just another coincidence. So what is the true meaning of Christmas? Presence. The Christ in Mass that we should celebrate as an ideal. And this high holiday was to remind us that we have the ability to manifest and to become a master, as Jesus said, because what he said is, what I can do, you can do also. And the truth is, we're all masters of our own realities. We all manifest either consciously or unconsciously. That's right. This is no secret. In fact, it's a fact. It's a fact because destiny is not a matter of chances. It's a matter of choices. Conscious thoughts are the key. How may I serve better with love? God, how may I serve better? What are we supposed to remember at this time of year? What? And what does remember mean first? Let me take us to task on that. Well, let's take a look at a kangaroo. Kangaroo's got 4 limbs, 2 little arms, 2 legs, but it's got a tail. So it's got 5 limbs. If we took off the tail surgically and then sewed it back on in due course, we would be remembering the tail. Remember. being attached to the whole body. Now, there are many things that can be taught, but as a teacher, I can tell you, a lot of things have to be remembered. And a good, true teacher will take you to the point where you go, oh yeah, I know this. Exactly. And I don't believe that true teachers teach unless the student has learned. So at the CFT, we teach a very expanded version of what I'm teaching you here today. Very expanded. So again, you can find me at thecft.ca, thecft.ca. Take a look around our site. We offer electronic classes. We do. And I teach all the way from basic spirituality right through to quantum mechanics. Yeah, we cover all that. The CFD has been around for 21 years. And it's only lately that I've come out of the closet. In the last 6 months, I've let my picture be known on the website. We have lots of referrals on the site, lots. And it's a meditation center, but so much more. It's about optimizing your consciousness, optimizing meditation. And it's not about following the teacher. No, it's about following your heart. It's not about drinking the Kool-Aid. It's not about read this one book and interpret it my way. No, all you say is read multiple books. Read as many books as you want about what it is that we teach you about consciousness and how you apply your energy and what your life is all about. Now let's go back to Christmas. People nowadays, they're imitators of actions of traditions past. And that's why I called it previously recycled ignorance. And what's happening in this teaching is an outline between attention and intention. Hopefully I've got your attention, which means focus. In the military, if a senior officer stands up and yells attention because a more senior officer comes in the room, everybody stands up and eyes straight ahead, and it's about focus. So attention is about focus, but intention is about something very different. It's about transformation. Transformation. So there's a difference between change and transformation, you know? And this season could be your transformation, this Christmas season. Change is temporary. It's what you do for someone else. And when they're no longer there, you'll probably revert back to the way that you were. But transformation is what you do, whether or not somebody else is around or not. It's permanent. It's for the right reasons. It's irreversible transformation. The cocoon to the butterfly. Yeah. So transformation is really what Christmas season is all about. It's about reviewing your life. It's about thinking about a new year coming around. How will you transform what it is that you came up against this year? Yeah. A lot of people don't have any specific intentions because they're not asking why. A lot of people are asking why though. Why do I feel like there's more to this that I'm missing this season again? Is it all about buying gifts and making others happy? Well, no, there's more to it than that. And that's what the center is all about. You've got to be asking why. Why are you listening to this? Why does every day end in a why? Because we're supposed to be asking why. Why am I here on this planet? Why do I do what I do for a living? Why do I have this friend, that friend that's not really there? Why am I a friend to these people. Why? There's a reason why every day ends in a why. Because you're supposed to be learning. You're supposed to be getting the lessons of life. And could it be that the lessons of life are about love first, will second? All of life needs to be about love first, will second. And very few people know the true meaning or intent, again, of Christmas. Could it be that it's a recalibration time, a review and recalibration? Right. And because of this, the original intent of Christmas now needs to be known. This magic of understanding must be brought out at this time of evolution. Could it be that you're feeling this tsunami coming through the universe? Yeah, there's a tsunami of energy. It's called the quickening. The quickening magnifies where you're at. If you're into fear, guilt, and shame, it's magnified. If you're into worry, it's magnified. And I believe that worry is a prayer for what you don't want, really. And so when you understand that it's an annual report card on your evolution, Christmas is, and the mechanics and the details of this are in a much bigger lesson that I teach at the CFT, much bigger, much more thorough. But there's only so much time today that I have with my host. Thank you, Neil. Thank you. And so what if I told you that there were reams of angels when this custom of Christmas first started out, and they were called Noels? Those angels were called Noels. But maybe they weren't spelled Noel. Maybe they were spelled KNOW-WELLS, Noels, as to how sacred this time of year was. Yeah, to celebrate an ideal that could be achieved, a Christ in Mass, and to consider doing a reset. That's what this season is truly remind us of, is to become a Christos, one who knows, to connect us to the whole, to remember, remember, the word remember. Christmas is also about true magic. Is there a difference between an illusionist and a magician? Oh, yes. True magic is the real deal. And the magic comes from childlike innocence. Right. So where is this magic of Christmas gone that we all experienced when we were a child? Where's it gone? Now, the magic in life is proportioned to the amount of innocence, love, and presence. True magic. That's it. Love and presence and innocence. These qualities create what I call now moments. What's a now moment? Well, if you look back on your life as a child, now moments are when you had no other thoughts other than any other thing that was going on in that very, very moment, which means that you accepted the situation for what it is and you offer no resistance, but you're really present in that moment. What if I told you that your evolution, your transformation is in your acceptance of what life is presenting to you? You must learn to honor it. Honor it. Again, now moments where you're really, really present. So I got to ask you, do you have any interest in putting the magic back in your life and others, especially children, this Christmas? Remember, you can't give what you don't have. So you have to know what I'm talking about in terms of now moments, presence. And you're going to have to load up on this intention to have the transformation so that there's magic around you this Christmas for your partners, for the children. Wouldn't that be great? So this all depends on your ability to be totally present with each person. Now, this is a very rare quality in a human. Now, this presence, it comes naturally to a child because of the brain waves that they're in. They're down there in Delta. I said a child, not a baby, but a child. So you have to get out of baby stage a little bit. Now moments, they're truly magical in life. Right. Look back on your childhood memories. And again, that magic, those moments of now moments, they were all when you were really present at that very moment. You had innocence, you had love. You had the ability to be a really big observer. You had a light heart. You had trust and you had peace. This magic is still within you. It's still within the child of you, believe it or not. Now, as you practice this, you're going to find you're going to increase your incidence of coincidence. Wouldn't this be great? Because I think that that's a forerunner to actually manifesting, where you just think about something and it comes to me. Just think about it and you get the answer. But in order to do that, you have to have a collaboration with the spirit, with your divine. Right. You have to understand why you're here. I mean, you're here for this life pursuit of understanding the purpose of why you're here on the planet. What's that purpose? It's not what you do for a living. It's about being connected to spirit before you get to death's door. It's about being connected, and if not reconnected, to your spirit, to your God, before you get to death's door. How do you do that? Well, that's what we teach at the CFT. This is to love and to understand life. Understand why you're here. What if I told you you're here to understand more than you're here to be understood? Lose the dramas, really. And in doing so, the different layers of realization of becoming one with spirit happens. There's a term for this. It's called at-one-ment. Atonement, at-one-ment. Right. Coincidence? I don't think so. The idea here is to not get lost in the illusion. It's to, even though we're swimming in the illusion, it's to not, the idea is to not get buried by the illusion. It's bad enough that we're immersed in the illusion, in duality, but to not get lost in it, because if you get lost in it, the illusion buries you. It does. Buries you in a box and throws dirt all over you. This life is about love first, will second, as a spiritual value. Mercy, compassion. These are the flowers of grace and ease and love. These are. And life is about balance. You know, if you practice compassion, one of the things that it reduces is judgment. It reduces judgment. That's right. Forgiveness comes naturally. What if I told you when you get to the other half of the sky that God will never forgive you for what you did here? You heard me, and I'm not going to take that back. You see, when you get to the other half of the sky, you learn that God is love. God never judged you. That's why there's nothing to forgive. And when I was taught that if God's God, I have compassion more and more and more compassion. As you have more and more compassion, it reduces judgment. And judgment is one of the greatest restrictors of evolution, I believe, of humanity. Forgive where you need to forgive what someone did. They were just doing what they thought they should do based on the consciousness that they had at the time. And in the end, like the other half of the sky, there's nothing to forgive. But if you can't grasp that, then listen to me, because your evolutionary ceiling is limited as long as you don't forgive. It's like the Buddha said, not forgiving someone is like hanging onto a hot coal and thinking the other person's going to burn. Rather foolish. The other dynamic about forgiveness is, do you realize in the history of the world that nobody has ever died from a snake bite? That's right. True. You see, if a lion bit you, it could tear your head off. But a snake bite is actually just 2 small puncture marks. It's the poison that comes through those fangs that arrest the heart, the lungs, and the internals. It does. And what if I told you that if you don't forgive someone, you produce that kind of toxicity within your body? So forgive while the opportunity is yours. Maybe not so much because they deserve it, but how about you breaking through to a new evolutionary level? Perhaps that will work for you. In life, we tend to lose the sacredness of life because of the sheer volume of dynamics that are coming at us that we must deal with in the doingness of life. The idea is to have a moment like this where you bring more beingness to your doingness, which means you're being present with what you're doing. Oh, we're all busy. The sheer volume of dynamics of life, we are all busy. But the idea is to bring presence to what you're doing. Bringing more beingness to your doingness. Remember, you're called a human being, not a human doing, not a human pasting, not a human futuring. Now, this rolls off the tongue easy, but it's actually a very slippery slope. Life, as you advance in consciousness, is about quality first, quantity second. And it's key. This is key to understanding that we live in this 3-part system of me, myself, and I. Of body, mind, and spirit. Of soul, oversoul, and the great I am. There was a song many years ago called Just an Old-Fashioned Love Song, coming down in 3-part harmony. And maybe you need to engage the other 2/3 of your being to become optimized. If that intrigues you, then get in touch with us at the CFT, because this is what we teach. Not only do we teach why, but we teach how. If you understand why, then you're away. But if you don't understand why you're doing something, the hows don't matter. They don't matter. I mean, life is perfectly purposeful for your evolution. You don't necessarily get what you want, but you're going to get what you need. And that's what I teach. We're all getting what we need, All of us are becoming needed. KNEADED. Needed. Like the dough of the bread being kneaded before everything's mixed in perfectly so that it can be baked. That's right. So you get needed. And if there's something that touches you about this teaching today, then I've got you present. Because chances are you're only engaging life with 1/3 of your being, which is your human, of me, myself, and I. So call in the other 2/3 of your 3-part system, get connected. Get connected right up to the mighty I Am presence. The magical presence is yours if you're present. The original spiritual intent of life was coming down to earth and not to forget your divinity in the sea of duality. Everybody's in this sea of duality, and everybody wants to swim in the ocean of love. And you can do that. You can do that. We have complementary teachings, like I'm doing right here, that we can send to you. Just come to our website, register, and we'll send you complimentary teachings if you like what you hear here, and maybe you'll join us. We're searching for teachers. All of society is going to need a lot of well-trained teachers in the time that we're entering. With this tsunami that's coming through, magnifying where you're at. The only safe place to be, peace and love. It magnifies where you're at. Get out of the fear, guilt, shame. Get out of the worry. Again, worry is a prayer for what you don't want. It's about increasing your capacity right now. Your capacity to love. Your capacity to understand that you had to go through what you had to go through to get to this talk. Your purpose is about reconnecting now, especially as this tsunami comes through, this wave comes through. Could it be that you're really getting the divine squeeze in the big three? My last book was about the big three. Could it be that you're getting squeezed on financial or relationships and or health? Could it be that you're getting squeezed on all three? If not one, two, maybe all three. This is how your divine is trying to get your attention. Your divine will meet you at every dead end of financial, relationships, or health, even if you have to die to do it. That's right. Even if you have to die to do it. So you know what? Wake up. If you're hearing me, let this be a very special, pivotal point Christmas in your life to not get buried by the illusion at this time of year. Excuse me. Or at any time of the year for that matter. Remember, if you do get buried by the illusion will bury you. Right. You know, as many of you are aware, you have these 7 major energy centers within the body. I call them seals. A lot of people call them chakras. The Bible referred to the mighty 7th seal. A chakra is an opened seal. We teach you all about the properties of what each one of these equates to in life and in the divine. And maybe these seals should be spelled SEE-ALLS, because each one of these opens up a different part of the brain, and you actually see life differently. What if I told you that when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change? I'll say that again. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So if you change the way you look at the magic of Christmas, and you realize that the universe favors childlike properties, so you start looking at Christmas through childlike eyes, watch what'll happen. I mean, in closing, let's just take a moment to reflect on your childlike experiences. Let me just guide you through this. Close your eyes. Please, close your eyes. Trust me. Do you remember how you used to perceive Christmas experiences through the eyes of your innocence? Do you remember that magic in Christmas as a child? Let's go back to that age. Let's go back to your residence growing up. What does the outside of the house look like? What does the inside of the house look like? What does the yard look like? What does your room look like in that house? Your siblings, what did they look like at this age that you've selected? Can you imagine the love that was in your home for your mom and your dad? Do you remember that love? Do you remember how they used to be to you? Can you picture your mom and dad's eyes? Yes. Beautiful. How about the Christmas tree and where you put it each year and how it was decorated? The lights, the bulbs, the decorations on the tree, especially at the tip of the tree, the pointer. Do you remember the silver tinsel? The bulbs. Do you remember all the wrapped gifts at the bottom? And oh, how about the nibbly treats around the house? And maybe even the smells of food cooking. Maybe the music playing. Eh? The snow falling outside. Jack Frost on the windows, going up and looking at the artwork of Jack Frost, which was an amazing miracle within itself. Do you remember the anticipation of Christmas coming, especially on Christmas Eve? You remember trying to go to sleep on Christmas Eve, and oh, it was so exciting. But before you knew it, you nodded off and someone was awaking you for the arrival of Christmas morning. And the sounds coming out of your room. And then the gift opening Christmas morning. Yes. Do you remember the shrieks of surprise and moments of quiet thoughts and maybe tears of gratitude? Eh? Do you remember? And maybe later in the day or during the day, the clearing of all the wrapping and the boxes and cleaning up. And then going on to the Christmas Day events, whatever you had planned. And maybe even helping prepare Christmas Day supper. Maybe with relatives and family as well. The innocence and magic, they really, really perceive life beautifully. They do. Spirit favors childlike properties. Spirit does. Love brings everything into assembly, in your life. It does. So gently come back. Open your eyes. Welcome back. Thank you for allowing me to take you on that journey. Christmas is a magical time of year, but we should make it a benchmark for the recalibration of our life and transformation, and decide that we're going to live and we're going to live. It doesn't matter how difficult things get out there or how complex or how confusing. Love brings everything into assembly. Love brings everything into assembly. How do we know that? It brought you and I into assembly. From seed and ovum to here. Love has infinite organizing powers. Don't worry, be happy. Love everybody that you've got on your stage this Christmas. Love them for who they are and who they are not. You get clarity through contrast, you know. You do. So it doesn't matter who they're not. You get clarity through contrast. Look for the good in every person, place, thing. Look for the love in it, and you'll find it within them because you're finding it within yourself. Remember, life is forgiving. 2 words. Life is also 1 word. Life is forgiving. I want to say thank you today for allowing me into your imagination, and hopefully I've sparked something within you. And if I have, it is my pleasure.